Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. I want you to think about someone in your life who told you you're amazing. Someone who looked you in the eyes and said, "You are special. You are talented. You are going to do great things." Someone whose words felt like sunlight on your face on a cold winter morning. Cody's voice made you feel safe, made you feel sane, made you feel like you mattered in this world. Now I want you to think about what happened next. Because here is the truth that nobody talks about. Here is the thing that every single person in this room has experienced, but very few of us have had the courage to say out loud. Sometimes the sweetest words come from the most dangerous places. Sometimes the people who praise you the loudest are the ones who need something from you the most. And sometimes the beautiful things people say to you have nothing to do with you at all. Open your eyes. Welcome to the reality of sweet talk. I am not here today to make you feel good. I am not here to tell you that everyone loves you and everyone wants the best for you, and that every compliment you have ever received was sincere and pure and genuine. That would be easy. That would be comfortable, and comfortable has never changed a single life. I am here today to tell you the truth. And the truth, like medicine, might taste bitter going down, but it will heal you. It will strengthen you. It will set you free in ways you have never been free before. Because I have been there. I have stood exactly where you are standing right now. Anu, let me tell you a story. When I was 23 years old, I was working at a small company. I had a manager. His name doesn't matter. What matters is what he did. Every single morning, he would walk up to my desk, put his hand on my shoulder and say, "You know, out of everyone here, you are the one I trust the most. You are the most talented person on this team. I see a future for you here that is bigger than you can imagine." And every single morning, I would sit up a little straighter. I would work a little harder. I would stay a little later because those words filled something inside me that I didn't even know was empty. 6 months went by. I had given that company everything. Late nights, weekends. I had turned down opportunities, said no to friendship, sacrificed time with my family. All because I believed what I was told. All because I trusted those sweet, beautiful, perfectly crafted words. And then one day, the company hit a difficult period. Budgets were being cut. Decisions were being made. And I walked into work one morning expecting that same hand on my shoulder. Expecting to hear, "Don't worry, you're the most talented, you're the one I trust." Instead, I found a letter on my desk. A standard termination letter. 2 paragraphs. No warmth. No personal conversation. Nothing. I sat in my car in that parking lot for 2 hours. Not because I had lost a job. Jobs come and go. I sat there for 2 hours because I realized something that cracked something open inside me. I realized that I had been living inside someone else's fiction. I had been building my confidence, my identity, my sense of worth on words that had never been real. I had mistaken strategy for sincerity. I had confused flattery for faith. And the cost of that confusion, the cost was enormous. Now here is what I want you to understand. That manager was not a monster. He was not some cartoon villain twisting his mustache, plotting to destroy me. He was a human being who had learned, probably from his own managers and his own parents and his own experiences, that sweet words are a tool, that praise is leverage, that telling people what they want to hear is one of the most effective ways to get what you want from them. He was not evil. He was operating from a very common, very human playbook that almost all of us have used at some point in our lives, whether we admit it or not. And that is what makes sweet talk so powerful and so dangerous. Because here is the fundamental reality that we need to sit with today. Human beings are wired for validation. From the moment we are born, we are looking for signals. We are scanning the faces of the people around us, asking a silent, desperate question. Am I enough? Am I loved? Do I matter? Am I worthy of being here? And when someone comes along with the right words at the right moment, in the right tone of voice, something deep inside us exhales. Something that has been holding its breath finally lets go. And in that moment of relief, in that moment of warmth, we become vulnerable in ways we don't even realize. Think about the relationships you have been in. Think about the person who, in the early days, made you feel like you were the most extraordinary human being on the planet. Think about the way they looked at you, the way they spoke about you to other people. The texts they sent you at 2 in the morning, the compliments that came so easily, so naturally, that you thought, this person really sees me. This person actually understands who I am. This person is different from everyone else. And then time passed, and the words started to change. Or maybe the words stayed the same, but the action started to tell a different story. Or maybe both changed at once, and you found yourself wondering when exactly you went from being the most fascinating person in the room to being someone who was barely acknowledged. When did you go from being celebrated to being tolerated? That shift, that painful, disorienting shift. That is what I want to talk about today. Because most of us have been through it. And most of us, when we came out the other side, did one of two things. Either we decided that all words are lies, that no one can be trusted, that sweetness is always a trap, and we shut ourselves down. We put up walls. We became cynical and guarded, and we wore our distrust like armor. Or we did the opposite. We went looking for the next person, the next manager, the next partner, the next friend who would give us back that feeling. We became addicted to the validation. We chased it. We accepted bad situations just because someone knew the right words to keep us in place. Both of those responses are understandable. Both of those responses are human. And both of them will destroy you if you let them. There is a third way, and that is what this speech is about. I want to tell you about a woman named Maria. Maria grew up in a household where she was constantly praised. Not for who she was, for what she performed. Her parents would light up when she brought home good grades. They would brag about her to relatives, show her off at family gatherings, tell anyone who would listen how gifted she was. And Maria loved that. Of course she loved it. She was a child. What child doesn't want to be told they are wonderful? But slowly, quietly, without anyone intending it, Maria learned a devastating lesson. She learned that love is conditional. She learned that she was not loved for existing but for achieving. She learned that the warmth she craved was a reward for performance, not a gift given freely. And so Maria spent the next 3 decades of her life performing. She excelled in school, excelled in her career, married someone impressive, had children who were enrolled in every possible activity, kept a beautiful home, maintained a perfect appearance, and at every milestone, people showered her with praise. Wonderful, amazing. How do you do it? And Maria would smile, and inside, Maria was collapsing because she had never learned to distinguish between being loved and being useful. She had never developed the capacity to receive genuine affection because she had been so thoroughly trained to earn approval that she couldn't recognize anything that wasn't conditional. When her husband said, "I love you," she heard, "I love what you do for me." When her friend said, "You're incredible," she heard, "Don't stop, because the moment you do, we will leave." When her children said, "You're the best mom," she heard, "Keep performing, keep giving, keep being what we need, being what we need." Mariah came to me 3 years ago. She was 51 years old. She was sitting across from me in a coffee shop, and she looked successful in every visible way, and she looked absolutely hollow. And she said something to me that I have never forgotten. She said, "I have received more compliments in my life than most people receive in a lifetime, and I have never once felt truly seen." Let that sit with you. She had never once felt truly seen. That is the real cost of sweet talk when it becomes a substitute for truth. Truth. When we surround ourselves with people who tell us what we want to hear instead of what we need to hear, we may feel temporarily full, but we are slowly starving. We are eating sugar when our bodies are desperate for nutrition. We are drinking salt water when we are dying of thirst, water when we are dying of thirst. Now I want to flip this, because this conversation has to go in both directions. And this is the part where I want you to be honest with yourself, because most people don't want to look at this side of the mirror. How many of you have used sweet talk not to be cruel, not to manipulate in any sinister, calculated way? But how many of you have told someone their work was great when it wasn't? How many of you have told a friend their idea was wonderful because you didn't want to hurt them? How many of you have complimented a partner to avoid conflict, or praised a colleague because you needed their cooperation, or told your child they were brilliant at something they were actually struggling with because you couldn't bear to see them disappointed? We all have. We all participate in this culture of comfortable dishonesty, and we call it kindness, we call it tact, We call it emotional intelligence. And sometimes in small doses, in the right moments, some of that is appropriate. Sometimes you don't need to be brutal when a gentle word is enough. But when comfortable dishonesty becomes the foundation of our relationships, when we consistently choose pleasant lies over difficult truths, we are not being kind. We are being cowardly. And the people we are doing it to deserve better. Think about the friend who asked you to read their business plan. The one that had serious problems, structural issues, fundamental flaws. And you said, I love it. This is so exciting. I can totally see this working. And they invested their savings. And it failed. And they came to you afterward, broken and confused, and said, I don't understand what went wrong. And you knew what went wrong from the beginning. You just didn't have the courage to say it. Think about the person you dated who had qualities that were genuinely concerning, patterns that you recognized from the start. But they looked at you like you were the answer to every question they had ever asked, and you thought, maybe I can overlook this. Maybe love is enough to smooth over the rough edges. And you said encouraging things when you should have said honest things. You gave validation when you should have given reality. And 2 years later, when the relationship ended in pain, you both walked away more damaged than when you started. The truth is always kinder than a comfortable lie, even when it doesn't feel that way in the moment. Even when the truth is hard to say and hard to hear. Even when the truth causes temporary pain. Temporary pain in service of real growth is one of the most loving gifts one human being can give to another. I think about a boxer, a great boxer, a great boxer. Not just someone who is physically skilled, but someone who becomes truly great. Do you know what separates good boxers from great ones? It is not just talent. It is not just talent. It is not just training. It is the quality of the people around them who are willing to tell them the truth. A trainer who tells a boxer that left hook is perfect, everything you do is perfect, is not a trainer. That is a liability. A real trainer looks at their fighter and says, your footwork is sloppy on the right side. Your guard drops when you throw your right hand. Your conditioning falls apart in the 4th round. These are the things we are going to fix. Not because I don't believe in you, but precisely because I do. Just I do. That is love. Hard, rigorous, demanding, uncompromising love. And it is rarer and more precious than gold. I want to talk about something now that I think is one of the great crises of our time. Because we are living in an era of industrialized sweet talk. We have entire industries, entire platforms, entire economies built on telling people what they want to hear. Social media hands you a dopamine hit every time someone approves of your post. Algorithms are designed not to show you truth, but to show you whatever makes you feel most validated in your existing beliefs. Influencers have made entire careers out of telling millions of people, you're perfect exactly as you are. You don't need to change anything. Anyone who challenges you is a hater. Wellness culture tells you that your feelings are always valid, that discomfort is always a sign something is wrong, that you should surround yourself only with people who support and affirm you. And there is some truth in all of that. There is some necessary, important truth. But there is also a profound and dangerous distortion. Because growth requires friction. Transformation requires discomfort. Becoming the person you are capable of being is not a process that happens when everything feels warm and supportive and affirming. It happens in the hard conversations. It happens when someone you respect looks you in the eye and says, I think you are capable of more than this. It happens when you hear something about yourself that is uncomfortable. And instead of defending against it or running from it, you sit with it. You let it work on you. You let it change you. I think about the story of Abraham Lincoln. Here was a man who failed in business, failed in his first political campaign, failed again and again, lost the love of his life, had a nervous breakdown, failed in his bid for the Senate. And at every single point in that journey, there were people around him offering two very different things. Some offered sweet words. It wasn't your fault. The system is against you. You are too good for these people anyway. And some offered hard truth. You need to work on this. You need to strengthen this. You need to change your approach to that. Lincoln, to his extraordinary credit, learned to distinguish between the two. He learned to be grateful for the sweet words when they were sincere and to receive the hard truths when they were necessary. And that discernment, that capacity to know the difference, is a significant part of what made him one of the greatest leaders in human history. Discernment. That is the word I want you to carry with you today. The ability to tell the difference between genuine affirmation and strategic flattery. Between love that tells you hard truths and love that only tells you easy ones. Between a person who is in your corner because they believe in you and a person who is in your corner because they need you to perform a function in their life. How do you develop that discernment? Let me give you something practical right now. I want to give you a framework that I have used for years and that has genuinely changed the quality of my relationships and my own self-understanding. There are 3 questions I ask when someone offers me praise or validation or encouragement. 3 questions that cut through the noise and get to the truth very quickly. The first question is this: does this person also tell me when I am wrong? Because anyone who only ever has good things to say about you is not a truth teller. They are a mirror designed to show you only the version of yourself you want to see. The people in your life who genuinely have your best interests at heart will celebrate you when you do well. And they will also, with love and respect, hold up a difficult truth when you need to hear it. If someone has never once disagreed with you, never once pushed back on a decision, never once said, I think you might be making a mistake here, that is not unconditional love. That is conflict avoidance dressed up as loyalty. The second question is, what does this person need from me right now? I am not saying that every compliment has an agenda. I am not saying you need to be paranoid about everyone who is kind to you. But it is worth asking, in the context of this moment, in the context of this relationship, what is the dynamic here? Is this person praising me because they genuinely admire something they see in me? Or are they praising me because they need me to feel good enough to give them something? Because they need my agreement, my cooperation, my forgiveness, my continued presence. This is not cynicism. This is wisdom. And you can hold this question lightly without letting it poison every interaction. You can ask it quietly, internally, and let the answer inform how you receive what is being offered. The third question, and this is the most important one, is this: does what they are saying match what I know to be true about myself? This is the question that requires the deepest honesty. Because sometimes we lap up praise that we know in our most private, honest moments is not accurate. Someone tells us our work is brilliant and we know it was rushed and mediocre, but we accept the praise because it feels better than the truth. Someone tells us we handle the situation beautifully and we know we acted from ego or fear, but we take the compliment because it is easier than the self-examination. And every time we do this, every time we accept a flattering lie about ourselves, we erode our own inner compass a little more. We become less and less capable of accurate self-knowledge. And without accurate self-knowledge, growth is impossible. Now I want to talk about something that is going to resonate with some of you more deeply than anything else I say today. I want to talk about sweet talk in love. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. The person who came into your life speaking the language of all your deepest desires, who seemed to understand you in ways that no one had before, who said the things you had been waiting your whole life to hear, who made you feel for the first time or the first time in a long time that you were truly, completely, unconditionally loved. And maybe that person was sincere. Maybe everything they said came from a real and genuine place. I am not here to tell you that all romantic love is manipulation. And some of the most beautiful, true, lasting love begins with exactly those words. But I am here to tell you that some of the most devastating damage any of us carry comes from having opened ourselves completely to words that were not backed by truth. There is a specific kind of pain that comes from this. I think many of you know it. It is the pain of realizing not just that someone hurt you, but that you build your sense of self around the perception of you. It is realizing that the version of yourself you were most proud of, the confident, lovable, worthy version, existed primarily in the reflection of their eyes. And when those eyes turned away or turned cold or turned to someone else, you didn't just lose the relationship. You lost that version of yourself. You lost the sense of being loved. You lost the proof as you experienced it that you were worth loving. And rebuilding from that is one of the hardest things a human being can do. Maria, the woman I told you about earlier, had been through this too. Not once, but several times. And after our many conversations, she said something